TCI is brought to you by Spendthrift Sire Into Mischief, sire of 3 Derby colts from just 2 crops to date, including Louisiana Derby winner Vickers in Trouble.
Welcome back to TCI, your inside track to the Triple Crown. Alongside Joel Cunningham, I'm John Siegel. All right, Joel, I know everybody has Derby fever right now, and rightfully so. The Derby's a little over a week away. But, Joel, we are Triple Crown Insider. That means we have 2 other races we talk about, the Preakness and the Belmont. Let's do a little bit of housekeeping, and let's talk about the Lexington Stakes real quick. You know, we saw Mr. Speaker in here, a horse that you really liked going into this race. Joel, he's very impressive. My question is, do you think that we could see this horse back on the dirt and running in the Preakness Stakes?
I don't know about the Preakness because of the conservative connections. I don't know if they'll wheel him back in 3 weeks. And it's interesting to think everybody has Derby fever, but the Preakness is only 3 weeks away.
Right.
So, you know, horses like Social Inclusion that might not make the Derby, you know, maybe a Mr. Speaker, maybe a Kid Cruz who, you know, is a good local horse there, could be sitting in the weeds sort of waiting for these Derby horses in 3 weeks. So it's interesting to think about and bring up. If we go now to the Twin Spires TV race replay, we'll take a look briefly at the Lexington Stakes, and we'll just look at this performance here by Mr. Speaker. The 5th Silks here, you see with the red cap. Once he gets out from that inside trip, he just explodes away from this group, John. Yeah. It's very interesting. I thought he was a big-time contender in the Bluegrass Stakes. They opted to take, you know, the more conservative route, run him in here. He wins by daylight. Very good performance, and when you talk to Shug and you hear what he says about this colt, he still hasn't ruled out another try on the dirt. You know, if you notice, when they had him on the Derby trail on the dirt down there in Florida, you know, he didn't run well, but what happened next time out? They put him on Lasix. So who knows what really happened in that performance? Potentially he bled, potentially something happened there. He's been great since then. He's got a good off-the-pace style, a great turn of foot, and he has that main track pedigree. He certainly had enough pedigree there to like the synthetic. So I think there's some dirt crossover ability if he gets the right setup. Be interested to see what they do with him. But they're very conservative. I could see them maybe trying the Peter Pan, and if he runs well, maybe running the Belmont, because that's going to be his home this summer. But, you know, still, they're more apt to try it again maybe down the road and maybe like the Jim Dandy or the Travers.
All right, well, Joel, that's later down the road. We need to talk about the Derby right now. And this is the show where we give our first impressions. You know, we have the luxury of being here in Kentucky. We can drive over to Churchill and we can take a look at these horses. You know, you've been over there. You've seen a few of them now. There's a couple of them that have not shipped in yet. Joel, give me your first impression and tell me who do you think's the standout so far?
So far, and again, we haven't seen the California horses. You know, I'm very intrigued to see California Chrome.
Yeah, me too.
Obviously. Dance with Fate's another colt that, you know, is kind of rising up in my mind, you know, and could run a big race in the Derby. Very interested to see how he came out of the Bluegrass. Good-looking colt. And then obviously Wicked Strong come from New York. I mean, we still have a lot of we haven't put eyes on a lot of these yet, but what we have seen, you know, based on the horses that are there right now, I think Medal Count looks as good as any of them, John. And his home track is Churchill Downs. Good-looking son of Dynaformer. And what's most important is he still has a lot of pep to his step. He's training great at Churchill. Looks like he likes that dirt track. Obviously didn't like the tighter track at Santa Anita, the tighter track at Gulfstream, but he's doing really well right now. And I think physically, I mean, he just looks great. He doesn't look like a colt that's going to be making his 3rd start in 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And I can have a little theory about that poly track. I mean, how many horses do we see at Keeneland this meet come back on a week or two's rest and run well?
Yeah.
You know, I think the ones that actually handle the poly track, have that gait and that action that handles that surface, I think those races might be a little easier on them physically, both, you know, cardiovascularly and then also, you know, just muscle soreness and the concussion, obviously with a safer surface there. So, you know, a horse like Medal Count, even though it's his 3rd race in 4 weeks, conventional thinking would be, well, he's not coming in the right way based on that type of itinerary. I think he actually looks good. We'll like a mile and a quarter. He's training well at Churchill. Watch out. Another colt I like, John, your Arkansas Derby winner, and that's Danza.
Okay.
You know, with a colt like him, to run as big as he did, second off the layoff, on the road in Arkansas, first thing that comes to your mind is, okay, maybe a bounce candidate here. But when I see him, he's another one that just looks so good in the flesh. Just a tremendous coat on him. You know, he's not a big stocky horse like a lot of these street bosses are. You know, that's just not the way he's made. He has a little more stretch to him. I think probably more influence maybe from the dam side there, but the energy level is so important. You know, a horse like him that has those miles on him, has that big performance just a couple weeks ago. I like his energy level. I think he's come out of the Arkansas Derby looking great. And to me, amongst the 3 or 4 I've seen from Pletcher, I think he looks the best or as good as any of them, in my opinion. So very good signs for Danza fans out there. And then the last one's a bit of a long shot. It's Commanding Curve. You know, is he this year's golden soul? I mean, he's not going to make our top 10 list. Might not even make the Derby field. He's 21 right now on the list. but boy, does he look good physically. And a colt that just loves Churchill Downs, trains so well over it. I think he's sitting on his best race. You look at his form and the way he's doing right now, I think he's going to turn in his best race in the Derby. Question is, how good is that? I don't think he's quite as good as Golden Soul, maybe coming in based on his form, but this group isn't as good as what Golden Soul had to run against last year, in my opinion, outside of California Chrome. So, I think, for a horse, can he win? I don't know. Can he even run second like Golden Soul? Not sure he can do that. But if you're looking for a trifecta or superfecta buster, Commanding Curve will run his best race in the Derby if he gets in. Just not sure how fast he is overall.
Well, a few other horses that we've kind of gotten some reports on. We spoke of Graham Motion this morning. Ring Weekend, Tampa Bay Derby winner. A lot of people were wondering, is this horse going to run in the Derby? He breezed today. They were very happy with it. He went 6 furlongs, I think 112 and change. Yeah. He told us he's going to ship over on Monday if everything comes, with the breeze is okay. Social Inclusion is a horse that's interesting. He breezed down at Gulfstream. Joel, this horse, he could really be a danger in here if he gets in, but he's a long way from even getting into Derby at this point.
Yeah, the trainer keeps working 3 furlongs and out in 4 furlongs. It's very intriguing work regiment, but you have to have the horse. And after his Wood performance, I think he's going to be tight enough in his 4th lifetime start, but he has to get in. I'm not willing to take him out of the top 10 yet. And, it seems like every week, we can count on it. Attrition, people bypassing the race, injuries, Cairo Prince.
Yeah.
Disappointing injury.
Yeah.
And it makes sense. As poorly as he ran in the Florida Derby, John, it makes sense that he was not 100%. Well, now he comes off the list. Just another one like Constitution, like all these others, by the wayside, these top talents, and it just opens things up. So you see here, everybody kind of just moves up for me. I'm not willing to really move anybody around because I want to see all these horses at Churchill Downs and then, see final works this weekend and then really assess next weekend where I think they fit in the top 10. So no real big movement in here, including Social Inclusion, who stays in that 3 spot for me, just for now.
Yeah, and as the fans, I'm going to speak out for them. You got the Social Inclusion in a number 3 spot. I mean, that's pretty high up there for a horse who may not even get into the race. But another horse I'm interested in, We Miss Artie. I think that it's worth putting him in there because I do think he's going to run huge in there. But I still got to question you. I don't see Vickers in trouble. He's a horse that I think could really run well in here. Louisiana Derby winner. Joel, this horse hadn't done anything wrong, but he still can't seem to crack into that TCI top 10. Tell me why that is.
We Miss Artie has that foo peg look to him. He's a big colt. He has some attitude. Reminds me of foo peg a little bit. Obviously a Derby winner in 2000. When I look at him and his style, I think he's coming in this race good. Certainly they must have seen something in the morning to run him in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, try him again in the Fountain of Youth, and try to make him a dirt horse. We know he likes turf. We know he likes synthetic. I think he could like Churchill's dirt, and he has the right style, and to me, he looked very good. When you're trying to assess all the Pletcher horses, I mentioned Danza. I thought We Miss Artie looked very good, too, and I think he fits this race. The question is, will he be good enough on dirt? Kind of like Metal Count, kind of like some Dance with Fate and some of these other horses that are coming from the turf synthetic, haven't run well in the dirt yet. Will he like it enough to be able to punch through and win a race like the Derby? That's the question, but for me, he moves in the top 10 with Cairo Prince out.
All right, well, thank you, Joel. Thank you for your impressions. We look forward to hearing next week, the other horses that you're going to get to see this weekend. We got some final breezes. We're going to really start to solidify this top 10. It's going to be really exciting going into next week.
And one more nugget with the Derby trial this weekend for Bob Baffert. He's already said she, too, is going to skip because he's already in the field at the Derby, 20, okay?
Yeah.
Bayern is not. I think he likes Bayern better. And Bayern, I wouldn't be surprised. I think he'll win the Derby trial if he runs. If he doesn't, I wouldn't be surprised. Bob Baffert take a shot, him getting in on the also eligibles. And if he were 21, I wouldn't be surprised if he actually scratched She Too, just for Bayern to get into the field. Different owners there, so I don't know how that works politically. But I tell you what, he likes the way Bayern's trained there. He outworked She Too the other day. Is not a great workhorse. So watch out this Derby list and see who this final 20 is going to be. That's really what's interesting, and Bob Baffert holds a big key this weekend, what he's going to do with his horses.
All right, thank you, Joel. Derby fever in full effect. Hey, guys, make sure you come back next week. We'll give you our impressions on the ones that we haven't told you about, and you'll get our Derby picks.